Deep within the ancient ruins, Ryoga uncovers the lingering soul of Sora Kashiwagi. This legendary mage fighter stood alone against the monster waves to protect the innocent from total slaughter. But heroism did not earn him a statue. His commander, Naruhito Byakugo, betrayed him, using Sora and his entire unit as sacrificial bait. They were left to die. That coward stole the glory, making sure every record of Sora's bravery was completely erased forever. Ryoga unearths this dark secret and offers the broken spirit a simple choice: cold revenge. He will help Sora settle the score, but only if the warrior becomes his loyal, undead servant. And things get even wilder. Ryoga prepares a dragon corpse to act as a vessel for Sora's soul. It is a vessel far superior to anything from the original timeline. Sora agrees, awakening inside this terrifying and powerful new body. He keeps his magic skills. And now he can level up indefinitely. But why is our main character doing all of this? Everything was normal until the gates opened without warning, letting bloodthirsty monsters flood into the city streets. The world spiraled into absolute chaos instantly. Then hope. People awakened through a mysterious system, becoming known as hunters, the world's last line of defense. They actually managed to win. By clearing these gates, hunters climbed from 1 star all the way to a 7-star rank. Incredible as it sounds, 7 individuals reached the 9-star rank by gaining the favor of the constellations, forming the powerful families that now rule the entire globe. But then there is Chinan Ryoga. He is a total anomaly, the first human ever to hit 9-star rank without any help from the stars. The 7 families, they were not happy. The constellations decided his existence was a bug that could bring the entire world order crashing down. So, they hunted him down amidst a burning city to end his life. A representative from the great families finally stepped forward. A brutal fight broke out, and Ryoga even lost his right arm in the carnage. Now he is on his knees while his opponent, Dimitri, sits back to mock his pathetic state. Dimitri is another 9-star beast, the vessel for Odin, the legendary king of mages himself. Ryoga gasps for air, asking why they are so desperate to kill him. Is it because he lacks the constellation's blessing, or is there something more to this? Maybe it is because he flat out refused to serve those arrogant families. Dimitri just laughs, admitting it is both. He explains the gods themselves want him dead and gone. Basically, Ryoga has no cards left to play in this situation. Apparently, the gods find it unsettling that a human could grow this strong alone. To them, Ryoga is the undying king, a monster with power rivaling the 7 families and the grace of the gods, all by himself. But there is more. The 7 families are already struggling to keep their shaky alliance from falling into civil war. Dimitri claims Ryoga defiled the laws of nature by becoming a master of necromancy. By controlling the dead, he is accused of destroying the world's delicate stability. He reminds Ryoga that in a fight between 9 stars, the favor of the constellations always determines the winner. The constellations have completely forsaken him because he chose to wield a foul, forbidden power. Dimitri claims this is the gap between them, but Ryoga just scoffs at his arrogance. He tells him it is easy to talk big while hiding behind Odin's borrowed strength. Ryoga reveals he only kept talking to stall for time, and now time is up. He is finally ready to show him what he can really do. Ryoga then unleashes a massive, overwhelming aura, forcing the dead bones nearby to rise as a terrifying undead army. Dimitri just mocks him. He admits he is surprised by this hidden power, so he decides to use his strongest magic, too. Without moving a muscle, Dimitri conjures a technique so powerful it leaves Ryoga absolutely shocked. Ryoga realizes with horror that Dimitri is about to activate the Eye of Odin. Deep down, he knows his own peak technique doesn't stand a prayer against that god-tier power. Ryoga watches as a devastating beam of magic tears across the field toward him. But instead of showing fear, he actually smiles. He has got a crazy plan he has been dying to test. Dimitri is baffled by the laughter, but then he spots a strange item in Ryoga's grip. It is an artifact capable of messing with time itself, a legendary item called Kronos' pocket watch. As the watch detects divine energy, Ryoga holds it high, waiting for the impact. The magic blast hits it. The energy gets sucked into the artifact, finally meeting the activation conditions. This immediately triggers the process of regression. To use the watch, you need to be a 9-star rank and have constellation power. Since Ryoga didn't have his own divine energy, he had to figure out a different way. He decided he would just have to borrow some of Dimitri's power instead. Dimitri watches in pure terror, screaming to know what Ryoga has done. Ryoga just smirks, asking if he is proud of that power of Odin he is using. Because now, he is taking it away. Ryoga flips him the bird, promising to destroy the 7 great families next time they meet. Suddenly, a blinding light engulfs the battlefield before everything fades to white. Not long after, Ryoga wakes up and realizes he is back in his old childhood home. He is still furious that Dimitri tried to kill him over nothing, and he is craving payback. The artifact is shattered now, since 2 of them cannot exist in one timeline. This means there is no going back. Time cannot be rewound a second time. Ryoga is just relieved. The artifact worked even without him having a contract with a constellation. He successfully traveled 23 years into the past. It is the day he left the orphanage, the same day the system first appeared. Right on cue, the system materializes in front of him once again. It tells him to pick a class while keeping his natural traits and talents in mind. His innate trait is clear mind, giving him a massive resistance to all mental attacks. For his class, he can choose between being a martial artist, a mage, or even a priest. This doesn't surprise him, since he knows only basic classes are available at this level. In his past life, he immediately picked the mage class, but this time, he is not going to rush. All right, stick with me because Ryoga is locked in. He's going to survive this time, no matter what. Plus, he has got a cheat code, all that intel from his days as a 9-star hunter. Ryoga heads straight to the Natsuhabura Hunter Market. The clerk starts his usual sales pitch, but Ryoga isn't interested in the junk. He cuts him off, he only wants the Ring of Dark Gloom. The clerk's jaw drops. That item, it is a straight-up cursed nightmare. Ryoga knows exactly what he's doing, and simply asks how much it is going to cost. The clerk makes it clear that the shop won't be responsible for any soul-crushing losses after he buys it. Ryoga. He totally gets the clerk's reaction. No sane person would drop 2 million on a ring that hits you with every single debuff. Buying this one item just wiped out half of his entire life savings. Right before he puts it on, the system gives a final warning. Equipping this will flood his mind with terrifying mental curses. The secret. The ring holds a massive secret. Anyone who actually overcomes the curse is granted the ancient knowledge and power of necromancy. Ryoga puts it on and is instantly transported into a pitch-black realm. To his surprise, the challenge he has to face is none other than Dimitri. Dimitri laughs. He tells Ryoga he doesn't stand a chance in this fight. Without the power of a constellation, he is invincible. You cannot even damage him without a constellation's divine grace. He laughs at Ryoga. He calls him a pathetic necromancer abandoned by the stars. Even if he did return to the past, he is still weak. There is absolutely no way he is going to win this. He points a finger and fires a deadly energy blast straight at Ryoga. But Ryoga is ready. He activates Clear Mind and Stone Cold blocks the entire attack. With that move, Ryoga clears the trial of the ring. He finally awakens the dormant necromancer power waiting inside of it. Here is the catch. The only way to actually break this curse is by choosing not to resist it. And, since Ryoga knew the secret, he just became the world's very first necromancer. He knows he cannot face the 7 great families alone without the backing of a powerful constellation. So, he decides to simply create his own constellation, and you and I both know it is the Necromancer. Now that the trial is over, Ryoga sees a brand new option on his class selection screen. The Necromancer class. It is a specialized path that uses dead bodies and souls as a source of power. For his first-class bonus, he unlocks a unique trait called Guide of Death. This trait actually cuts his spiritual power consumption by 20% whenever he is using his summoning magic. Ryoga is definitely feeling good. He checks his status and realizes he only has 2 skills right now. Those are Raise the Undead and Bone Control. Both of them are currently sitting at E rank. With the Raise the Undead skill, he can transform a simple corpse into an undead warrior without a soul. As for his Bone Control skill, it allows him to pump magic into bones so he can control them freely. However, since he went back in time, his rank has reset to the very beginning. Even though he has all that Necromancer knowledge from the ring, he cannot use the advanced skills just yet. Ryoga realizes he still has to play by the system's strict level and rank rules. If he follows the system, he can climb all the way back to 7 stars. But reaching that 9th star is impossible. That realm of transcendence just can't be reached through normal means. Ryoga knows being a necromancer early on simply isn't going to be enough. If he's going to have any chance at defeating Dimitri, he needs a guardian star. Now, a guardian star is a literal constellation that offers divine protection to its chosen hunter. Ryoga wastes no time. He packs his gear and heads straight for the Temple of Kronos. It's an ancient constellation that went dark after being crushed by Zeus and the Olympian gods. Once he finally reaches the temple, Ryoga pulls out that broken artifact and slams it right onto the altar. Everything shifts. Suddenly, Ryoga finds himself standing in the realm of the fallen Titan king, Kronos. Kronos is absolutely furious, demanding to know who has come to disturb his peace. But Ryoga, he just casually greets the giant god like a friend. Kronos leans in close, his massive eyes landing on the artifact held in Ryoga's hands. He asks if the boy has been rewinding time, and Ryoga doesn't hesitate to confirm it. Kronos is impressed that's no small feat, but he wants to know, why wake a sleeping god? Kronos is actually Poseidon's father, the god who swallowed his own children after hearing a prophecy about the Titans falling from power. But Olympus stripped him of everything, leaving him to rot and be forgotten by the world. Ryoga is betting the old Titan still holds a massive grudge against the Olympian gods. Ryoga finally answers the Titan's question with one of his own. Do you want your revenge? Kronos is stunned by the boldness. He demands to know exactly what this human is suggesting. Ryoga just answers, telling Kronos he can finally have his vengeance if he agrees to become his guardian star. That offer just makes Kronos even more pissed off. He asks if a mere human really thinks he can interfere in the vengeance of a god. Can a mortal really bring down Olympus? Kronos reaches out in a blind rage to crush the boy. But Ryoga speaks up fast, revealing he reached the 9th star without any help from the constellations. Plus, Zeus is right at the top of his own personal revenge list. Turns out Ryoga isn't just after the Romanovs. He's planning to dismantle all 7 great houses. Ryoga explains that if they can take down those powerful families, Olympus will lose its entire grip on Earth. And that's when the real revenge will finally begin. Kronos scoffs. To him, the revenge Ryoga is talking about is just a small, insignificant goal. He admits Ryoga might be strong enough to jumpstart his clock. But he warns him that a warrior chosen by constellations cannot walk the dark path of a necromancer. Kronos makes it clear that he cannot align himself with something that defies fate. Their very natures are just too different to work together. Ryoga admits that might be true for the god of time. But it's a whole different story for the god of harvest. Contracts depend on how your soul matches theirs. It's about compatibility of nature, not just power. At his core, Kronos represents both the harvest and time. And the scythe, that's the symbol of the harvest, but it's also the symbol of death. Both are cycles of rebirth that defy the natural order. They are 2 sides of one coin. Kronos is livid. He screams at Ryoga, asking how he dares to link a god with death. He warns the human not to get too ahead of himself. But Ryoga just tells the Titan to check his pride at the door. All right, you and I are watching Ryoga challenge him directly. Does he want to live nameless and powerless, Or would he rather rot as a stubborn old fart under Olympus forever? Ryoga makes one thing clear. He showed up because he knew Kronos would choose revenge, even if it meant changing. He urges Kronos to join him so they can finally reclaim their power and crush Olympus. Deep down, Ryoga knows this is his only shot. If Kronos refuses, it's over. He can't lose this chance. Then Kronos finally cracks a smile. He admits he hasn't forgotten his thirst for revenge. But first, Ryoga must prove he can truly become the force behind it. He asks if Ryoga realizes that flipping his very nature will cause agonizing, immense pain. Still, he urges him to endure it, promising to become his guardian star if Ryoga can survive the coming ordeal. Ryoga is stunned. Kronos isn't wasting a single second, and before he can even blink, Kronos reaches out to officially appoint the young man as his holy saint. Ryoga has no clue what a saint even is, but before he can think, Kronos' divine energy floods into his body like a tidal wave. Apparently, a saint acts as a constellation's representative, channeling pure divine power. But since he's already a necromancer, that dark energy starts clashing violently with this new holy force right inside him. The strain is absolutely brutal. But he knows if he passes out now, he loses his only shot at getting a guardian star. Ryoga hits the dirt on his knees, but refuses to quit. He has to endure this. You and I can see that contract paid off. Ryoga heads back to Japan with a smirk, feeling pretty good. Kronos is now chilling in his mental space, totally shocked by how much the world has changed. Ryoga is already annoyed by how much the guy talks, especially since Kronos has 0 followers, no strength, and 0 divine protection. Kronos might be back as a powerful constellation, but that scythe of his has forced him into the role of a grim reaper. Ryoga realizes the heavy lifting is on him now. He has to build everything up from scratch. Kronos admits he's actually excited. It has been a long, long time. He tells Ryoga to spread his name everywhere. After all, the kid is a holy saint now. Look, a saint is basically the top-tier class in the whole priest line. Ryoga is losing it. Kronos really just turned a dark necromancer into a holy priest. Plus, Ryoga unlocked a brand new skill, Saint of the White Knight. This holy spell is broken. It wipes out every single penalty for using necromancer skills. Then there is Life Drain, a holy spell that steals a target's life force to boost his physical stats or even heal himself. Think of it as holy power that's been darkly tainted by death. Priests use God-given light, while necromancers rely on dark spirit energy. It's a weird mix. Ryoga has never even heard of someone using both of these forces at the same time. He tells Kronos that combining necromancer summons with holy saint skills is basically a total cheat code. Kronos just laughs. He's more than a guardian star, and Ryoga is more than just a proxy. It finally hits Ryoga. This whole setup was planned from the very beginning. Kronos just lets out a roar of laughter, reminding him that he was once the God King. Ryoga smirks. He's heading to the ancient garden. It's the perfect spot for us to see this insane new power. Think of gates as a literal doorway, leading straight into another dimension. And they are classified as flow, which vanishes once the boss and core are destroyed. Then there are fixed gates, which exist in our world permanently. And as for the ancient garden, it is a medium-sized fixed entry gate with a 1-star requirement. Because this garden is a permanent fixed type and has a 1-star entry limit, it makes it easy for rookie hunters to enter. Arriving at the entrance, Ryoga spots a crowd of other hunters there who are all looking for a party. He used to do this back in the day too. But it never ended up being a decent team for him. Out of nowhere, a group approaches Ryoga, asking if he might be interested in joining their little squad. Ryoga just brushes the guy off, telling him he is perfectly fine solo. The guy feels totally embarrassed by the rejection and asks if a rookie like him will really be fine alone in this dungeon. His teammates just tell him not to worry about Ryoga, since he was the one who rejected their generous offer to form a party. As for Ryoga himself, he is actually quite thrilled to be alone so he can test his new skills. Stepping into the ancient garden, Ryoga finds the whole place eerily quiet. And he knows that the usual pattern is for something to jump out from the shadows. He has not even finished that thought when a goblin lunges at him from behind. Ryoga dodges the strike with ease, leaving the monster completely wide open. He immediately snatches the creature by its neck, thanking it for going out of its way just to get killed. Ryoga activates his White Knight trait, converting his raw spiritual power into pure holy power. He adds life drain to the mix to absorb the goblin's vitality. The goblin screams in horror as its very essence leaves its body. Ryoga begins to realize that the sensation of using holy power and spiritual energy is actually quite similar. Seconds later, he is done absorbing the monster's vitality and drops the husk on the ground. That is when Ryoga notices that his stats have actually increased. And he is shocked that draining monsters boost his power. By his quick calculations, he realizes that killing 25 of these goblins would grant him a full level. Like clockwork, Kronos appears and asks if he likes his new power, and Ryoga cannot help but admit that it is absolutely incredible, since he has a fresh goblin body lying right there. Ryoga decides to try out his power to raise the undead. He speaks the command word, and the goblin stands up. The system informs him that, since the zombie completion level is high, the goblin's stats have increased by 97.2%. Since the zombie is rated at 1 star, Ryoga realizes it can handle the workload of an entire person in the garden. Right then, 3 more goblins emerge in the distance, and Ryoga decides to use them as live test subjects. He sends his undead minion forward, and it immediately tackles one of the living goblins. It pins the creature to the ground while biting down on its neck. Another goblin slashes the zombie's back, but to their surprise, this does not affect the undead monster at all. Ryoga mocks the other survivors. He tells them their comrade is undead now, and it will not die even if they manage to strike its vitals. Ryoga snatches one from behind and starts draining the life right out of its body. Ryoga then tries his life drain on the dead goblin that his undead minion just finished off. Against all odds, it works. Our main character grins as he realizes just how forgiving the process actually is. With that figured out, Ryoga decides it is time to floor it. There is an old saying among necromancers: once you raise your very first corpse, the rest of the job is practically done for you. Basically, getting that first soldier up and moving is the hardest part. Once you clear that hurdle, the rest is smooth sailing. In a flash, Ryoga has 4 undead goblins ready to go, and he sets them on every monster in his path. A brutal clash breaks out immediately. A living goblin sinks its blade deep into one of the undead. The monster panics when it realizes the zombie just does not care. Kronos is not exactly impressed with the messy brawl and asks if Ryoga plans on fighting with any real dignity. But Ryoga just tells him to get used to it. This is how a necromancer rolls. Just a bit later, the system pings him he has reached his limit, a full army of 20 undead. 3 goblins decide they have seen enough and try to make a run for it. Suddenly, a flaming arrow streaks through the air, dropping those runners instantly. Ryoga orders his squad to halt and demands the hidden archers show themselves right this second. The 3, the same group that tried to team up with him earlier, step into view. Ryoga looks at them and realizes he definitely knows these faces. They are none other than the twin shadow hunters. Ryoga's face turns ice cold the moment he remembers who they really are. See, back before he regressed, these 2 were sent to assassinate him. Yuma and Yukurendo were famous hunters, a deadly duo of fraternal twins. They were a total nightmare to handle in the past, but right now, they look weak. It makes sense, though, considering they are still just 1-star hunters. But there were only 2 of them in the original timeline. The 3rd guy is new. Kronos suggests taking these future enemies off the board while they are still small time. But Ryoga is not so sure. He knows they were just hired guns back then. They did not have a personal grudge, they just took a job. Yuma asks Ryoga if he is the one actually controlling the undead. He gets why they are shocked. Necromancy is not exactly common knowledge in this era yet. Ryoga just shrugs and tells them it is his summon. Then he realizes he actually needs some heavy lifters to carry his loot. These guys fit the bill. Plus, he knows these three are only in the hunter game for the cold hard cash. Ryoga asks if they want to work together, and Yuma is caught totally off guard. He wants them to handle all the boring loot and magic stone, gathering for a sweet 80-20 split. He will do all the killing, while the trio just sits back and makes bank. Hearing that, Yuma and his buddies huddle up to talk about this insane offer. Yuko whispers that they absolutely cannot trust this Ryoga guy. The third guy agrees. A hunter who summons zombies is way too sketchy for him. After a serious discussion that feels like it is taking forever, Yuma finally turns around and accepts. The deal? A 50-50 split. Hey, you and I cannot blame him for trying. Ryoga is not having it. 70-30 is his final offer, take it or leave it. Do not like it? Well, there is the door. Yuma is forced to agree, even though his buddy Hyboria thinks he is absolutely losing his mind. But Yuma shuts him down fast. He knows the truth, Ryoga could have ended them right there if he felt like it. The guy is confidence personified. I mean, who walks into a gate without any gear at all. Yuma is betting everything that following this monster of a man will lead them to the jackpot. Shortly after, the trio is already hitting their limit. Ryoga is moving at a breakneck pace, and gathering mana stones is exhausting work. They have already piled up a massive mountain of stones in record time. Yuma is just standing there, completely stunned by the sight. He knew Ryoga was special, but this is on a whole different level of insanity. While the guys are desperately catching their breath, Ryoga is still out there, slaughtering goblins like it is a chore while waiting for them to catch up. Yuma nervously asks for a break, sounding pretty desperate. But Ryoga just keeps the bodies piling up. At this rate, the group is starting to think he is not even human. A bit later, Ryoga finally stops to check his status screen. After all, they have cleared out a massive swarm of goblins. His eyes widen. His stats jumped by 212 points in just 3 hours of hunting. That is actually broken. Ryoga is pretty satisfied. Life Drain is a total cheat code. It is so efficient that his current specs are already matching a level 4. With his stats soaring, Ryoga decides it is time to pay the boss a little visit. Moments later, now you and I are entering the boss's chamber. There he is sitting on a throne, surrounded by his guard. The Goblin King starts trash-talking, claiming Ryoga just walked straight into his own grave. But Ryoga just laughs it off. He calls the king an idiot who is way too proud of his tiny hill. Yuma is panicking in the back. He warns that this goblin shaman is the South's big boss. Maybe provoking him is not the best idea. The king has heard enough. He orders his soldiers to swarm Ryoga and force him to his knees. But then, Ryoga summons his own undead army. A brutal clash between the living and the dead begins. One of the undead goblins gets sliced apart. But Ryoga does not care. He just raises another one. Yuma is terrified because they are surrounded. But Ryoga is just turning every fresh corpse into a loyal soldier. Suddenly, the Goblin King stands up. He raises a bone staff and starts chanting a dark, eerie spell. Totems erupt from the ground, sending a surge of raw power into the goblin ranks. Their eyes glow red with pure madness. The king brags that his totems will cripple Ryoga, while making his own army unstoppable. He is still talking when one of Ryoga's undead just grabs a totem and snaps it like a toothpick. Ryoga just smirks. Sorry, what was that about your buffs? The undead army switches targets, swarming the remaining totems. They are smashing everything to pieces, completely ruining the king's big plan. Shaking with rage, the Goblin King lifts his staff one more time in a desperate move. He triggers a terrifying new ability, the Curse of Madness. The pressure is so heavy, it even makes Yuma's party tremble. This curse gives every goblin a massive 50% strength boost. All right, you and I are about to see the king's personal guard shredding Ryoga's undead army. Their numbers are dropping fast, too fast. In the blink of an eye, only 8 undead remain. That's when Ryoga realizes That staff, it was the king's winning move all along. The king starts mocking him, bragging about how his bone staff is literally powered by the eternal grudges of every dead goblin. But Ryoga just smirks, asking if it's really made of bone. He basically tells the king he just handed him the win. Without a pause, Ryoga triggers his bone control skill and targets the king's own weapon. The king fights for control, but the staff rips itself away and flies straight to Ryoga. Just like that, the active madness curse is completely shattered. To make things worse for the monsters, the recoil drops their stats by 30%. The king watches in horror, while Ryoga just shoots him a cold, confident smile. He dares the monster to try using that annoying curse again. The king wants his staff back? Fine. Ryoga decides to return it, but in the most brutal way possible. He fires the staff like a high-speed projectile, pinning the king's neck to the wall. Instant kill. As Ryoga drains his vitality, he's shocked by the massive stat boost. Turns out, being a king pays way more than regular mobs. Just before every drop of blood is drained dry, Ryoga rushes in to bottle up a sample for later. He turns to Yuma's group and tells them they can handle the cleanup duty from here. Yuma and the crew can't believe they're stuck dealing with a literal mountain of goblin corpses. A bit later, the team exits the gate, leaving the waiting hunters jaw-dropped by the massive pile of mana stones they're carrying. Ryoga gives them a nod for their hard work. He asks if they're heading to the shop in Natsuibara to sell the loot. But Yuma says they'll handle the sales themselves to keep things under the radar. They want to make sure they get a fair price, assuming Ryoga actually trusts them. Ryoga teases them, asking if they really think he's that trusting of a guy. Once he sees the trio looking all guilty, he lets out a laugh. He tells them he was just messing with them before asking for an estimate on what this total haul is worth. Yuma figures it'll average out to about 6 million. Ryoga pulls the king's staff out from the pile of loot. Yuma warns him that the thing is actually worth very little. When Ryoga asks why, Yuma explains that the restrictions make it a pretty bad item. See, only priests can equip it, and while it gives huge spiritual power, it literally eats at the wearer's sanity. It's a massive power boost, sure, but since only a priest can even hold it, it's useless to them. Ryoga decides to keep it anyway, offering to take the cost out of his share, but Yuma won't have it. He tells Ryoga they wouldn't have survived this without him, so he's earned it. They'll just split the gold and act like the staff was never even there. Yuma checks with his teammates, and they're all in total agreement. In his head, Ryoga is pleased. You and I can see this integrity is why he loves this team. He walks away with a grin, suggesting they go for another round tomorrow. The next day was a repeat of the last, only more intense. Yuma eventually collapses from total exhaustion. He claims he might not even last one full day because his inventory is already completely packed. But Ryoga isn't about to push them. Instead, he tells the rest of the group that they are free to head out first. Once they vanish, Cronus asks why he let the entire group leave on purpose like that. Ryoga is actually impressed that Cronus sensed his intentional move to let them go. He simply doesn't want any witnesses for his next big move as he heads toward the northern garden. It doesn't take long before Ryoga runs into a massive pack of frog monsters. A brutal clash breaks out between his undead goblin army and the swampy beasts. However, the frogmen prove to be much tougher, quickly shredding through his frontline goblin forces. Ryoga isn't shocked at all. Their raw stats are just flat out higher than his minions. Ryoga strikes with his bone staff while activating his specialized oil shower skill. This handy ability weakens any physical piercing damage once it makes contact with the target. The bone staff digs deep into the frogman's slimy hide. The beast retaliates with toxic spit, but Ryoga dodges the strike before letting his staff loose like a high-speed missile. But he quickly realizes his mana drain is insane since he is controlling the staff and raising undead simultaneously. Still, Ryoga pushes forward, resurrecting the fallen frogmen to join his growing undead army. Soon after, the system pings with some good news. He has officially reached level 6. He smirks, knowing he will reclaim his former power in no time. Dimitri better watch his back, because Ryoga is coming. Moments later, he arrives at a mysterious set of ruins, clutching a bloody frogman heart in his hands. Cronus is curious about the plan, but Ryoga tells him to shut it so he can focus on the ritual. He teases that something incredible will happen once he drops goblin shaman blood right onto that glowing frogman heart. The second the blood hits, a bizarre and powerful aura begins to glow. This is the key. Ryoga reveals this ritual will unlock a hidden zone that would have stayed undiscovered for many years. The system confirms it. He has officially uncovered the ancient garden's deepest hidden secret. Just like that, he is warped away to the legendary ancient trial grounds. Suddenly, Ryoga finds himself standing in the center of a massive arena. The system chimes in to announce his arrival at the legendary ancient trial grounds. He actually found this exact place before he regressed. But since it was a 2-star rank back then, he was barred from entry. A blinding beam of light erupts before him, and a monstrous figure slowly begins to take shape. This is a solo mission. The system notes that only one participant is allowed inside. It is time to prove his worth and potential within these hallowed trial grounds. To his surprise, his opponent is a fierce Dragonian, and he is only expected to survive for 10 minutes to earn a legendary reward. Long ago, the constellations actually commissioned the Dragon Legion to build this place just to test out potential hunters. Seeing the massive beast Ryoga is about to fight, Cronus starts laughing, betting that our guy won't even last 10 seconds. He even jokes about needing a new saint soon, since Ryoga looks like total toast. But deep down, Ryoga knows better. He isn't going anywhere. His opponent might be from the dragon race, but it's currently nerfed down to a simple 1-star level. Still, Ryoga isn't underestimating this beast. He knows this fight won't be a walk in the park. Right as the Dragonian prepares to strike, Ryoga actually tells it to hold on. He needs to run a quick modification on his undead frogman. He is betting on that classic trope, where bad guys just stand around while the hero finally transforms. He swaps out their basic corpse poison for something way nastier. We're talking pure plague blood. This mutation officially turns them into terrifying plague zombies. Even Cronus is shocked that he's pulling off an impromptu, mid-battle modification like this. Ryoga just flexes, reminding everyone he was a 9-star necromancer before he regressed. He looks at the Dragonian and gives the green light. All right, come and get some. The beast charges forward, but the frogmen intercept it before it can even get close. They swarm the Dragonian, latching onto every limb and sinking their rotten teeth in deep. With every bite, they're pumping lethal poison acid straight into its scaly system. The Dragonian doesn't hesitate, violently shaking the swarm of frogmen off its body. Too late, though. They've already dumped massive amounts of toxic sludge into its veins. Ryoga reveals his secret. He sacrificed all their doubled strength stats just to max out their poison. They might be weak and slow now, but the potency of that poison is absolutely off the charts. Out of nowhere, the Dragonian slams its foot down with immense, earth-shaking force. A massive shockwave erupts, sending his undead minions flying back into the dirt. Ryoga is impressed. This Dragonian is actually tanking all that acid poison like a total boss. He quickly triggers his staff's defensive barrier as the beast comes charging right at him. It swings a heavy claw, but the shield shimmering around his body blocks the hit. Ryoga can definitely feel the overwhelming force behind the Dragonian's raw strength. And that's with its power halved by the poison. Now, it's prepping for a second attack. This time, Ryoga triggers bone control, sending a sharp spike right through the monster's hand. It roars in pure agony, stopping dead in its tracks as the frogmen pounce again. They tear into its flesh, flooding its entire bloodstream with a massive, final dose of poison. Even though it's barely hanging on, the Dragonian desperately tries to shake off the swarm. Ryoga watches, impressed by the beast's final, desperate struggle for survival. But he knows the truth. This Dragonian has officially reached the end of the line. Right on cue, the Dragonian collapses to its knees, and Ryoga yanks his bone staff out of its palm. Since the beast can't even move, Ryoga walks over and starts draining its very life force. In the end, Ryoga successfully clears the ancient grounds, leaving Kronos absolutely floored that a simple swarm of undead took down a dragonian. Ryoga just reminds Kronos that he already promised he wasn't going to die today. Suddenly, the system chimes in. The crest of endurance has finally been engraved on him. This incredible item actually cuts his damage delay time by a solid 40%. Mana alignment speed up by 20%. It reduces stagger and sharpens his concentration while taking hits. Unlike temporary constellation blessings, this is a permanent buff he gets to keep forever. This is basically a supreme grade crest, and Ryoga's grinning because he just scored a massive win. But he's not finished. He's eyeing that dragonian corpse, and Kronos wonders exactly what he's planning to do with it. Ryoga stashes the body, refusing to let it waste. He's about to build an undead warrior that's even stronger. But to pull this off, he needs high-end alchemy tools. He wonders if the legendary alchemist from his past life has even opened his workshop yet. Dungeon raid finally finished. He heads straight for Saitama, and honestly, he is shocked to see that nothing has changed since before his regression. Just as he reaches the building, boom, a massive explosion rocks the entire workshop from the inside. Ryoga doesn't even flinch. He knows exactly what kind of chaotic genius he is about to deal with here. The man inside flings the door open to clear the smoke. And Ryoga just smirks. Found you at last, he thinks, greeting the incredibly confused alchemist. See, this guy is a legend, the first to ever create a mass production formula for mid-grade health potions. He eventually becomes Japan's #1 alchemist, a literal household name. This is Shintani Rinya, the man destined to be known as the Great Alchemist. Ryoga approaches him, casually introducing himself before asking if the busy man has a spare moment to chat. Rinya shrugs, saying he doesn't mind. But he demands to know who Ryoga is and why he is standing in front of his private laboratory. Ryoga is blunt. He is here because he wants to use Rinya's alchemy equipment. Naturally, the alchemist feels a surge of instant annoyance at the request. But Ryoga tells him to keep his cool. It is just a temporary loan, and it is going to be a win-win deal. Ryoga mentions he is working on mid-grade potions, and that gets Rinya's attention. The alchemist is stunned. How could this random kid know about his secret research project? Without waiting, Ryoga walks inside. He offers to help stabilize the potion that has been giving Rinya so much trouble. Moments later, Ryoga makes good on his word, leaving Rinya absolutely speechless at the results. Ryoga gets the shock. After all, Rinya wasn't supposed to figure this out for another few years. To prove the potion works, Ryoga suggests a test and draws a blade across his own arm. He pours the glowing liquid on the cut, and, much to Rinya's disbelief, the wound heals instantly, leaving no scar behind. Desperate to study it, Rinya tries to grab the bottle, but Ryoga pulls it away. Seeing the man's hunger for knowledge, Ryoga asks if he wants the secret formula. Rinya is hooked. Ryoga's price. The alchemist has to lend him his expertise for a while if he wants that recipe. Ryoga promises him even more. He will teach him advanced recipes and secrets beyond his imagination if he agrees to team up. But there is a catch. The royalties will be a 60-40 split in Ryoga's favor. Deep down, Ryoga knows there is no way this potion-obsessed genius can turn down such a deal. With the partnership officially set, Ryoga pulls out the massive draconian corpse. Rinya can only stare, wondering what it is. Ryoga explains he is a necromancer and plans to process this draconian body into the ultimate high-grade undead soldier. Seeing the alchemist's curiosity peaking, Ryoga invites him to jump in and help with the entire process. Rinya hesitates, pointing out they haven't signed a formal contract yet, so why should he start working now? Rinya claims he is only letting Ryoga use the lab space while he considers the offer. Sure he is. Kronos is confused why the man is so defensive, but Ryoga understands. It makes sense when you look at what the guy has suffered through. See, he was a top researcher at Daisy, the country's biggest company, but his scumbag boss stole every bit of his credit. In the end, so he was forced out of his job, which killed his trust in everyone around him. Kronos finds this pathetic, claiming the human realm is just a pit of betrayal and sick obsessions. But Ryoga hits back, reminding him that the gods aren't any better than mortals. Then Ryoga turns to Rinnia. He knows exactly why the guy is stalling. Rinnia is scared to sign because he doesn't realize just how much power he has. Ryoga suggests he helps out with the current task to see his worth for himself. Rinnia gives in, and Ryoga hands over a tool to start the whole process. He is told how many F-rank stones to melt and the perfect ratio to use. Before long, Rinnia finishes, leaving Ryoga stunned. He's officially convinced that Rinnia is the perfect man for the job. Still, Rinnia can't help but wonder what Ryoga is actually doing with that corpse. Turns out, he's upgrading the undead's performance by layering formulas and curses over and over. 3 days of non-stop grinding later, they finally finish the panels they were working on. Rinnia is completely wiped out, but Ryoga is still standing like he hasn't done a bit of work. It's terrifying. Ryoga actually restarted a dead heart using mana. What kind of monster is he? His methods are borderline insane, but Rinnia has to admit the man has some skills. Hooked. Rinnia officially accepts the offer. Ryoga just smirks and asks if he's absolutely sure about this. Honestly, it would have taken Rinnia at least 2 years to craft a mid-tier healing potion without Ryoga's incredible expertise and guidance. Since he's fascinated by the research, he tells Ryoga that he's officially in on the deal. Ryoga is thrilled. He welcomes Rinnia as his exclusive alchemist, acting like they are finally partners in this. But in his head, he just sees him as another useful servant. With Phase 1 finally in the bag, Ryoga realizes his next move is finding a soul to power the Eldritch Dragon's core. Stepping out of the lab, Ryoga hits up Yuma. He lets him know that the payment has officially been received in full. He's actually impressed. He didn't expect Yuma to send over every single cent so quickly. Then, he asks if the group is ready for another gig. Soon after, the team, now known as the Rookies, meets Ryoga near the border. Yuma asks him why he'd come to such a dangerous place. Ever since that northern gate broke, it's a nightmare. The entire area is supposed to be crawling with high-level monsters. Ryoga just smiles. He says he's here to pay respect to an old friend, but then, a 2-star orc suddenly charges out at them. The team starts panicking, shouting for Ryoga to get back before he gets himself killed. Ryoga just sighs. He can't believe these guys are still doubting his true power. He figures this is the perfect chance to test out those processed bones they made. Activating bone control. He launches a bone at the beast, while the orc hurls a spear right back. It's a total mismatch. Ryoga casually flicks his wrist, changing the bone's flight path midair. It tears right through the orc. The beast lets out a blood-curdling scream. Ryoga actually praises him, saying he's tougher than he looks since Ryoga was honestly aiming for the heart. The orc rips the bone out and lunges, but the rookies aren't just standing around. Yuma slams his shield down to block, just as an explosion rips into the orc. Ryoga sends 3 bone shards flying. The orc fails to block them and meets a fatal end. Yuma is in total shock. He cannot believe Ryoga defeated a 2-star orc. Ryoga tells the team to wake up because the real work starts now. Yuma is just completely baffled. He reminds Ryoga that this was supposed to be a funeral trip. Ryoga raises the orc as an undead and reassures Yuma. He has not forgotten the mission. His target is in that village. Ryoga mentions they are about to make some serious cash, which gets the team excited. Ryoga keeps harvesting orcs until he finally hits level 13. Not long after this, the system informs him that he has reached the stat limit for this specific race. He can no longer drain power from any more orcs. Ryoga expected this. Nothing in this world stays infinite forever. Ryoga suggests they end the hunt, but the team is already 1 step ahead. Yuma and the crew have already started cooking up a feast. Ryoga teases them for being ready, but it is already day 3. Late that night, he tells them they will hit the orc settlement by tomorrow. Before the group turns in, Ryoga puts his orcs on guard duty so the team can rest while he sits outside to assess the situation. With his level higher now, it is finally time to dive into that newly unlocked ancient knowledge. He enters the massive library. This place holds the secrets of the previous Lord of Death. One particular book catches his eye immediately, but the system blocks him until he reaches a certain requirement. He must reach level 45 first. So Ryoga settles for the 1-star books instead. It is a bit humbling for someone who was once a 9-star. Without a word, he sits down to read diligently for hours until the system finally grants him a reward. He has officially mastered a brand new skill. Hibota wakes up to an orc face and screams in pure terror. Ryoga asks why he is still screaming after seeing this for days. Yuma points out that the orc looks way different than before. It is covered in bone armor and looks twice as big. Ryoga confirms it. He has been busy modifying his undead. These are now armored zombies with insane strength and durability. He gained 2 special skills. Bone armor transforms bone into equipment, while squirming flesh allows him to manipulate any corpse. This lets him control the flesh of the dead, making him fully prepared to move out. Ryoga tells the team it is finally time to invade the settlement. After a long and exhausting journey, they finally arrive at the village, where the orcs are already preparing for. The battle ignites the second they realize enemies are closing in on their precious village. Ryoga shreds the first wave of orcs with ease, using his bone control skill to slice through them like paper. In that moment, the orc leader emerges, brandishing a massive battle axe to rally his brutal squad. Arrows rain down as the archers follow orders, but Yuma stands firm, blocking every projectile with his solid defense. Yuka strikes back with flaming arrows, piercing green skin and forcing the enemy advance to a grinding halt. Kronos watches, thoroughly impressed by this, noting to Ryoga that the girl is actually quite useful. When the orcs finally charge the team, Ryoga counters by summoning his very own terrifying legion of undead orc soldiers to meet them. His zombie horde gains an insane advantage over the living orcs. Ryoga is glad he did his homework because that knowledge is definitely paying off big time now. As the carnage unfolds, pure terror begins to take hold. But Ryoga makes it clear they haven't even seen the worst of it yet. The undead legion lunges forward, tearing through the living orcs like blades through soft butter. Every time the survivors try to fight back, their strikes simply bounce off the thick bone armor shielding the undead. Even when the armor cracks and its durability starts to drop, Ryoga just uses his skill to instantly fix the damage. He then triggers his squirming flesh skill, latching nasty pieces of meat onto the remaining orcs. Their formation crumbles instantly. Yuma watches in shock, realizing that Ryoga isn't just powerful, he's a complete monster. The guy is clearly playing in a whole different league. Watching his men get slaughtered, the orc leader snaps and activates his berserk mode. His transformation forces the remaining orcs into a deadly variant. Ryoga saw this coming from a mile away. He's totally unfazed. The hulking squad leader roars and charges straight for Ryoga. But Ryoga meets the beast halfway, summoning enough bones to turn the monster into a pincushion. The orc falls to his knees, desperately clawing at the bone spike driven through his chest. But Ryoga isn't about to let his target escape that easily. Not a chance. He cranks up the intensity of the bone, draining the orc's life force as it howls in absolute agony. Mana is burning fast now. Ryoga realizes that juggling 6 bones at once is a massive drain on his energy. He realizes he cannot let up. If even one bone slips, this monster will be right back on its feet. There's only one way to end this. He needs a single, lethal strike to the heart. Ryoga pushes the bone effect to the absolute limit, draining his mana to 42%, but right then, the monster finally hits the dirt. Tired but focused, Ryoga immediately starts draining the orc's mana. He manages to refill his reserves, and the exact second the survivors see their leader fall, they spin around and bolt for the trees. Ryoga isn't letting any witnesses leave. He activates his flesh-writhing skill with a smirk. Those chunks of meat he attached earlier suddenly spring to life, sinking their teeth into the fleeing orcs and dragging them down to the mud. This opening is all his undead army needs to swarm the stragglers and finish the job. With the carnage over, green mana stones begin to drop. Yuma starts wondering out loud just how much gold they can get for this loot. But Ryoga points out the real jackpot. It's not the stones, it's that legendary blood axe the leader dropped. Check this out, an A-rank weapon with insane durability. Forged from refined blood and packed with sorcery to boost its wielder's power. The more blood it drinks, the stronger it gets. Ryoga smiles, holding the axe, clearing that orc village was totally worth it. He hands the axe to Yuma, leaving the heavy lifting to him. Yuma promises that they will handle the mana stones so Ryoga can finally take a breather. Instead of resting, Ryoga wanders off to find a pretty ugly-looking tree. He calls out to it, demanding a chat, but gets total silence back. Ryoga isn't taking no for an answer. One massive bone smash later, the tree finally wakes up to ask what he wants. The wood shifts into a man. Meet the legendary Sora Kashiwagi, the original mage fighter. A dark aura flares up. He wants to know how Ryoga knows his name. Ryoga laughs, he'd never forget. Sora was the hero who stopped the monster wave 35 years ago. Before the regression, he actually turned him into an undead. Japan only survived the Great Cataclysm thanks to legends like Sora. He was a total beast on the front lines in the early days. He possessed talent for both martial arts and magic, earning him the Mage Fighter nickname. Hearing the praise, Sora thinks his sacrifice actually meant something. But Ryoga drops a bomb. Not everyone is remembered. Sora asks what that means. You and I need to watch this. Ryoga mentions Naruhito Byakugo. Flashback time. Sora is on the front lines. Things are desperate. He begs for backup. Naruhito is on the other end. Sora warns him about the civilians. But the boss refuses backup. No help is coming. Sora's team is stranded. The realization hits him hard. They were used as bait. Naruhito doesn't even care. He confirms it with zero remorse, telling Sora the main force slipped through the gate easily. Sora asks if he intentionally, knowing he wouldn't abandon those innocent civilians, and Naruhito tells him not to be so gloomy about it. Sora smashes the radio. He orders his men to protect the people. Staring death in the face, Sora and his unit did their duty until their very last breath. Naruhito became a hero, while Sora's name was erased. Ryoga casually calls it a tragedy, pure disrespect. Seeing someone else walk away with his glory. Ryoga teases him, he wouldn't be resting in peace either. That's the breaking point. Sora snaps, yelling at him in pure rage, telling him to just get straight to the point. Ryoga makes a bold offer. He will help Sora get revenge, but only if Sora signs a contract to become his undead. He presents a Dragonian corpse, revealing that he has already got the perfect vessel ready for Sora's soul to inhabit. Sora admits that revenge was the last thing on his mind while in this pathetic state. But he is willing to play along with Ryoga's plan under one very specific condition. He is fine being used however Ryoga sees fit, but he is drawing a hard line in the sand. He will not have any part in hurting innocent people, a hero's heart, even in death. Ryoga realizes this is the exact same demand he heard before he regressed. It is proof that Sora has not changed a bit, even after everything he has been through. Honestly, it is exactly what you and I would expect from a hero. Ryoga promises to follow those rules. With both in agreement, Sora dives into the Dragonian's body, officially becoming Ryoga's newest undead servant. In his past life, Ryoga put him in a skeleton knight that eventually evolved into a Hell Knight. But he has always wondered how much stronger Sora could be with a top-tier body from day one. Cronus is seriously impressed by Ryoga's foresight here. It is clear Ryoga had been prepping this Dragonian corpse for this exact moment. Ryoga notices some special info on his screen. This new undead actually has the ability to grow. As the soul matures, it will be able to pull even more insane power from the physical corpse. Ryoga is totally stunned. This growth trait was missing when Sora was just a regular skeleton knight. On top of that, he kept his mage fighter trait too. Ryoga asks the big question, how does the new body feel? Sora admits it feels decent, but still does not compare to being alive. Just then, a notification pops up. The dragon is listed as incomplete, leaving Ryoga to wonder what he messed up during the preparation process. Still, he is convinced this is a way better starting point than what he had last time. He calls him a minion and tells him it is time to move out. That does not sit well with Sora. He flat out refuses to leave if he is being called a minion. Ryoga offers to use his old name instead, but Sora will not have it. He has thrown that identity away. Ryoga cannot believe how incredibly annoying this guy is being. He definitely does not remember him being this much of a headache. Sora starts brainstorming a name that sounds intimidating enough to make enemies tremble on the spot. Ryoga suggests legendary names like Fafnir or Tiamat, but Sora shoots every single one down. Minutes later, they are still arguing over the name. Ryoga is honestly 5 seconds away from punching him. After all that back and forth, they finally settle on the name Fafnir. Just as they are leaving, Fafnir stops him. He realizes he is naked and needs some clothes. He runs over to a nearby shack and grabs some fabric to wrap around his waist. Fafnir finally decides he is ready. Ryoga is just exhausted by how much work this guy is. Later on, they head to Rinya's lab. The doctor is shocked that Ryoga actually got that corpse moving. Rinya is completely obsessed, swarming around Fafnir and begging to run some tests on him. Fafnir asks if he can punch this total creep, but Ryoga stops him. Rinya is their partner. Yuma and the rest of the crew show up, telling Ryoga they are heading to Tokyo to sort out their new loot. Ryoga gives them the green light. Once the others are gone, Ryoga pulls out the orc leader because he has big plans for him too. Rinya asks what he's crafting, and while Ryoga acts coy, Rinya swears he isn't curious. He says his arm nearly fell off just from mixing herbs last time. Just like that, he's back to mixing herbs because his curiosity is just way too strong to handle. Plus, he knows Ryoga is always exceeding his expectations, so there's no way he isn't curious. Ryoga gets straight to work on the corpse, stripping the flesh from the body until Rinya finally hands over the extract he just produced. He pours the liquid onto the skeleton to reinforce it, and once he's finished, the skeleton gains undead status with 2 heavy shields. Ryoga realizes this skeletal soldier is the perfect choice to serve as his personal bodyguard. Ryoga tells the skeleton that whenever he's using life drain, it will be the one guarding him. Rinya isn't exactly thrilled about working with a skeleton, but Ryoga explains that bones have some massive perks. They're lightweight and they don't even rot, meaning no messy preparation needed. Unlike zombies with their short time limits, a skeleton stays intact as long as you keep feeding it spiritual power. Since life drain requires close range, he's always needed a guard while the skill activates. Rinya is absolutely stunned that Ryoga didn't just build a skeleton, but factored in its long-term maintenance. Ryoga decides to take a walk, telling Rinya to keep an eye on the bones. Rinya panics immediately, asking where he's going so late, and Ryoga casually mentions he's heading to the Pantheon. It turns out he leveled up and got a message to receive a new holy spell. Rinya loses his mind because he had no clue Ryoga was a freaking priest. Ryoga claims he's a devout believer, but Rinya is not buying it for a second, saying there is no way that's true even if the world turned upside down. Ryoga doesn't even try to argue and just quickly changes the subject, asking if the patent for that mid-grade healing potion is finally finished. Rinya says it will be ready soon, and Ryoga gives him props for working so fast. Rinya notes that competition is getting fierce these days, so he refuses to fall behind. Still, the big issue is marketing, since the next major exhibition is a full year away. Ryoga asks for some samples, promising to promote the product if he gets the chance. Rinya really appreciates the help and gives him the samples he needs, while Ryoga guarantees that money will flow like a river if this sample works out. Ryoga starts picturing just how rich he's about to become when the gold starts rolling in. That greedy look on his face makes Rinya seriously doubt that this guy is actually a priest. Shortly after, Ryoga decides it's finally time for us to head over to the Pantheon. This place appeared after the Great Cataclysm, where people gather to receive blessings from the constellations. Some of these constellations even demand expensive offerings from followers, and as he reaches the entrance to the ground floor, Ryoga's not feeling it. He can't sense a single relic radiating any kind of divine power. Then again, he wasn't expecting a treasure to just be sitting out in the open like that. A bit later, our main character is totally winded from climbing an endless flight of stairs. He cracks a joke about the distance, but Kronos just fires back, calling him out for his sharp tongue. Ryoga couldn't care less. He knows he's not about to get punished for a little bit of sarcasm. He asks Kronos how much further the top is, and the answer, he's only halfway there. Ryoga warns Kronos that if the prize isn't worth this climb, there's going to be some serious trouble. Finally reaching the top floor, constellations nearby show nothing but disgust and displeasure toward Ryoga. Once they're done looking down on him, Kronos decides it's his moment and officially registers himself right there in the Pantheon. With the formalities finally finished, Ryoga finds out he's gained new holy incantations, Unholy Blessing and State of Retribution. Unholy Blessing enhances negative energy while boosting target stats. State of Retribution, on the other hand, is mostly just boring text about redirecting damage. Kronos brags about graciously gifting him these skills, and even Ryoga has to admit they're actually impressive. Kronos starts laughing like a boss. But then the system drops a truth bomb. Kronos lacks divine status because nobody actually knows him. That laughter turns stone cold. In an instant, Ryoga can't help but roast him for acting like such a big deal earlier. Still, he's definitely happy to be getting a lot stronger. Ryoga steps out of the Pantheon only to be blocked by some massive dude demanding to know his business. This guy, Sadek Shidru, seems to know exactly who Ryoga is. Ryoga's confused, but Sadek reminds him of the orphanage. Instantly, Ryoga remembers him as that trashy extortionist. Ryoga tells the guy to stop acting like they're buddies because he hasn't forgotten how he was treated back then. Turns out someone once snitched on Sadek, and just as he was about to beat them up, Ryoga intervened and delivered a solid punch right to his face. Back in the present, Ryoga asks if his broken nose ever healed. Sadek is fuming, but he barely manages to keep it together. He claims he's a changed man now. Sadek flashes a tag on his chest, showing off that he's officially joined the Aragiri Guild. He mocks Ryoga, calling him a bottom-tier hunter just because he's coming out of the Pantheon. He warns him not to expect things to go down like they did in the past. Ryoga, on the other hand, just teases him, saying he looks exactly like the same old loser from before. Sadek snaps and throws a punch, but someone catches his arm before it can land. The stranger reminds him they're in the middle of a city and need to chill. Meet the strike team leader of the Aragiri Guild, a man named Jamin Rago. Sadek complains about how arrogant Ryoga is, so Jamin comes up with a plan. He suggests they take this fight somewhere else to settle their business for good. Honestly, Jamin just wants to crush Ryoga for daring to mess with the Aragiri Guild like that. Sadek laughs at the thought that Jamin wants to settle this with fists, reminding everyone Ryoga just became a fresh hunter. But Ryoga isn't backing down for a second. He looks Sadek in the eye and says he's game. Sadek is stunned, but Ryoga doesn't stop there, mocking him by asking if he is already getting cold feet. That is the final straw. Sadek snaps, declaring there is absolutely no backing out now. A few moments later, they arrive at the Aragiri Guild Training Center. They step onto the field and Ryoga summons Fafnir, explaining he will be the fighter since he is just a priest. Sadek isn't even worried. He is convinced Ryoga has got a totally trash tier ability. Not only that, he is decked out in stat-boosting rings and necklaces. Once he is fully geared up, the match officially begins. Before even making a move, Sadek starts trash-talking, asking Ryoga if he is already too scared. Ryoga just cannot believe how loud-mouthed this guy is. Meanwhile, Fafnir is stoked to face the Erigiri Guild so soon. The dragon decides it is the perfect time to test his new body, declaring he has zero intention of holding back. But Ryoga warns him not to end it instantly. He has got a little something to test out. Fafnir agrees, even though holding back his massive power is going to be tough. Sadek makes the first move, lunging toward Fafnir with his spear, but the dragon effortlessly hops back to dodge the strike. Sadek fires off another technique, but Fafnir just keeps dancing away. He goes all out, showing off some seriously impressive agility. Jamin is actually impressed, thinking this fight is going to be over before it even starts. But suddenly, Fafnir casually catches the spear midair, mocking Sadek for such a weak and useless attack. Sadek tries to pull away, but it won't budge. Fafnir starts lecturing him for attacking without a single thought. He makes it clear, in a real fight, Sadek would be dead already. Fafnir winds up a brutal punch, but then remembers he was supposed to be holding back. Instead of a punch, he delivers a massive slap that completely knocks the wind out of Sadek. He drops to his knees, gasping for air and trying his hardest not to cry like a baby. Ryoga teases him, noting that at least he isn't screaming his head off this time. Sadek is absolutely fuming. He charges again, but Fafnir just stomps his spear into the ground, shattering the floor beneath them. Then, he mocks him further, saying anyone will catch on if you use the same move twice. Fafnir suddenly snaps his knee, and Sadek lets out an agonizing scream. Fafnir looks down at him. This battle is over. Right before the finishing blow lands, Jamin jumps in to stop the match. He looks furious, and Ryoga is actually surprised the intervention came so much earlier than expected. Jamin then rushes over to check the injury, muttering that they are going to need a priest for this. Ryoga points out there is already a priest right there, but Jamin snaps that a low-tier heal won't fix bone. Ryoga says he knows that. Jamin demands to know exactly how he plans to heal a shattered leg. Ryoga reveals his secret weapon, a mid-grade potion, and pulls out the sample Rinnia gave him. Sadek is skeptical. Mid-grade potions usually cost millions after all. Ryoga seizes the moment to promote it, claiming mass production is finally a reality. Sadek tries to keep his pride intact. He insists on refusing help from the very guy who just crushed him. Ryoga just tells him to take it. He is only trying to be helpful, right? Truth is, Ryoga was already brainstorming a promotion, and he just found the perfect test subject. Ryoga pours the liquid on the injury. To Jamin's utter shock, the wound heals instantly. Instantly, Jamin is hooked. He needs to know how to get his hands on this. Jamin asks where he bought it, but deep down, behind that calm face, Ryoga is thrilled. His target took the bait, hook and sinker. Ryoga casually mentions that as a guild captain, Jamin must be at least a 3-star rank, a fact Jamin quickly confirms. Ryoga then drops a wild proposal. Fight me, and I will tell you exactly where I got it. I will reveal the source of this potion, as long as you agree to duel. Jamin is in. Ryoga promised to share the secret no matter who actually wins. Ryoga tells him that this is exactly what he wanted. Their previous skirmish ended much too quickly. Seconds later, the match erupts. Jamin blurs toward Fafnir, unleashing a barrage of lightning-fast strikes. Jamin successfully exploits Fafnir's massive frame, landing hit after devastating hit. Fafnir roars in pure frustration, but he can't even touch the agile Jamin. Ryoga isn't shocked at all. He fully expected Jamin to use Kashiwaga's high-speed style, which is a nightmare matchup for any Dragonian. This is why he used the potion as bait. If Fafnir faces an opponent he can't easily overpower, he will finally grow. But instead of giving up, Fafnir is focused. He is determined to adapt his sluggish body to this whirlwind style. Ryoga smiles. This grit is exactly why Fafnir is his trusted right-hand man. Since Fafnir is dead set on winning, Ryoga decides he can't just stand on the sidelines. He grants Fafnir the power of the impure, blessing, prepping him for the real battle ahead. Regulations, then download and filter again, according to the content theme we have image files like this. I guarantee that these images are taken from YouTube's system Google's system and comply with Section 107, that is Google's Fair Use Content Reuse Law. I have researched and searched for all this content. Now I will make about the process that I create a video to publish on YouTube. The main software we use is CapCut in the part with CapCut software first.